I see a lot of nonprofits and speak with a lot of nonprofits who, and I know it's hard to do if you have a donor that you can potentially get a grant for this much and okay, it's close enough. I can kind of create a program that does this or create a program that does this, because you want to stay afloat. You want
Right.
to sustain but how do you decide, okay, well, I'm not going to go for that grant, even though it's close enough for me to, maneuver some things and maybe create a program. How do you stay aligned with your core mission and in the midst of opportunities and funds that can come from various places?
Yeah, that's a layered question, and it requires kind of a layered answer. I mean, so in the beginning of a nonprofit, you're going to take whatever somebody's offering you because you got to keep the lights on and you got to keep the salaries paid. Um, I I look at fundraising as it's a very crude example, but it works for me. That there are gifts with wings, there are gifts with strings, and there are gifts with ropes. And the wings is what you want at least 75% of your income to be. People who believe in what you're doing and they want to support the work and give you the creative freedom to be able to build, grow, plug a hole here, build a wall there, whatever you need to do. Then there's strings, which is kind of where's my name going to be? What do I get in return for that? Yada yada yada. You can't be in the nonprofit world and not have gifts without strings. I mean, that's just part of it. So it's not a negative. The one that's the negative is the one with ropes, because there's a lot of donors out there who they don't recognize that they want to build it, but they don't know how. So they just want to pay you to go build their idea. And so they want to add work to your plate by giving you a big sum of money because it endears you to them and puts you kind of at their service. And when you're struggling and you're younger, you have to say yes to all of those because you have to keep it going. But that might mean that you're pulling a 75-hour work week, and that might mean that you're burning the candle at both ends because you're just trying to keep that income going. So I would say how we choose which grants. At the beginning, we were applying for grants that we really should have never applied for, but we're looking at it and crossing our fingers and hoping maybe this will work. Now I would say that I look at a grant and I jump to first, what are they expecting in return? Because if they want their name at the top of a concert that costs 400 to $500,000 to produce, and if they're wanting their name to be the presenter of that for a gift of $25,000, I'm not going to waste my time on that grant because I'm not going to get all the way to the end and then go, oh God, we have to do all this for $25,000. No, I look at that first, then I look at the amount of the grant. Um, and then I go back to, okay, what are the pillars of what they believe in and what are the pillars that we believe in? Where do we intersect? Where do we diverge? And so I treat it kind of more like a math equation in a way, is that here's the sum total, this is what they expect. Here's B, here's the amount, and then here's A, and A plus B has to somehow equal that sum total. And so we've taken grant. I mean, we got a Ford Foundation grant, you know, what we were so shocked that we were able to get that grant. And we got such great feedback from them. We've gotten a couple of other national grants. We got a call a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, from the NEA. Like we weren't even applying for a grant at that time. And the NEA reached out and said, we're giving 9 grants to 9 organizations throughout the country, and yours is one, and it's about building community and yada, yada, yada. Now, the day after we spent that grant and had a concert that cost a $500,000, we got a notification from the NEA that that grant was being canceled. Um, during that period where there was just slash and burn, slash and burn. Um, you know, we kept our heads down. We did the work. We didn't scream. We didn't threaten to sue. We just kind of like kept the faith and kept moving. And our community responded, which was very fortunate for us. But I would say that, when you're out there looking for, you've got to build your three tiers. I guess it also depends on the type of nonprofit that you're running. But the way I look at most nonprofit work is that you've got your three tiers. You have your foundations and grants and government, kind of all is for me in one big bucket. And then you've got your two, which is your sponsorships, corporate, uh, foundation, individual donors, whatever the level of sponsorship, and high level. And then third is your base, your army, your people who really believe in the mission and what you're doing.